Today we're checking out the brand new 2021 Lego Technic Race Plane. Glad you're here. Today we're checking out the Lego Technic Race Plane kit, and this thing is really cool. You can see on the front of the box we have our race plane itself with all of our set information, as well as the fact that it is indeed a 2-in-1 set. So you can see on the front we have our race plane doing a little course with the pylons and a couple loops, looking really cool. And on the back we have our alternate build, which is a very interesting looking delta wing pusher prop plane. So I'm very excited to see what that's gonna look like, and let's get into the box right now. So to get into the box, as I'm sure you've seen in many of my other videos, we have another Lego thumb hole, and this box is a little soft, but sure enough we can get on into it and get that open. So inside we will find two bags of parts, should I say, and a third bag of parts, not numbered, but this looks like it's going to be our wing, and this is going to be a very useful part in many custom builds. I know that for a fact, but that is a very cool piece. And of course we do have our other wing, and in here we also of course have our instruction booklet, and that is nice and thick, so this should be a pretty fun set. Now we also have our little a sticker sheet, and that will go onto our wings like so, and that is going to look awesome. So with that said, let's get into the build, and I'll see you right after that. Now that we're finished with this first build, you can see that it looks pretty awesome, and to my surprise it actually has more than one feature, and we will check those out right now. Taking a closer look at the race plane, or the first build of our race plane kit, you can see that this thing is pretty awesome, just as I said a couple seconds ago. And the first feature is being able to push it back and forth and be able to spin the prop, which I think is a very fun feature and makes this a very good toy. And that is done with just a few bevel gears, and you just kind of push that or turn that around, and inside you can actually see one of them. There is a couple more bevel gears, and that just kind of connects to a rod, which lets you spin the propeller with the wheels, and I think that that is just awesome. And these big pieces for the wings, the stickers for those is probably the hardest part of the entire kit. Although they were a little bit easier than I thought they were going to be, they were still pretty difficult. And on the other one I do have a little bit of a bubble, but that is because of the molding of the piece. There's a little bump right here, but on the other side, so I will just show you that, and you might be able to see it. It's right here, but there's actually a little molding nub. You could try to trim that off, but I decided to leave it as Lego has it. But that is just a tiny little nitpicky thing, and overall I think that this kit actually looks really cool. They have the little indicator lights here, correct, green on the starboard or right side and red on the port or left side, and I think that that looks very nice. Now around the front you can see that we do have these two little intakes here. Just like on an actual race plane, you'll notice that they do have a couple little intakes there. Now an actual race plane would have a smaller propeller, so this thing would be very fast and have a lot of torque if it was actually a real plane. And I think it's kind of funny that they do call it the Loop King, as you can see from the stickers on the wings and the stickers on the side here. And I think that's funny because the wings are fairly large, especially compared to the size of the horizontal stabilizers. I think that this thing would probably either want to go up a lot, or it would want to just do backflips or loops, and I think that's kind of funny. But if we open up this is kind of our second feature. You can actually open up the cowlings and take the exhaust pipes with it and see the inside of some of those inner workings and just kind of see how it works a little bit. And that also allows you to play like your pilot is doing some maintenance on your plane. Now this thing is roughly minifig scale, although you cannot fit a minifigure in it, nor does it come with a minifigure, but you can still play with it in your city, and this would definitely fit. And for our tail wheel, we do have a little bit of axle hanging out there, but this does spin nicely, and all of the wheels spin fairly nicely. You just have to apply a little bit of pressure to get it to grip up enough to be able to spin the propeller. But other than that, I think that this is a very well working, very good little toy. Now the tail has just the classic Lego Technic or Bionicle kind of tail fin looking piece, and the underside of the tail, which is the last thing that we will talk about, you can see it forms to the tail wheel very, very nicely, and I just really like how that looks. You can hear another plane in real life, and you can just see that that forms very nicely, especially for a Technic set. And actually, while we're down here, you can see the underside of the wings and a little bit how these supports go, and just how some of the underside of this looks, and I think it's very interesting. But with that said, let's go on to our next version of this kit. Here's the finished second build, and I think this thing looks pretty cool. Now, for the building process, I didn't have an instruction booklet as you would normally with the other build. We actually got one, but for the second builds in the Lego Technic kits, we actually have to hop on to the Lego Building Instructions app that I have on my phone, and that is a very, very fun experience. And if you can see here, I can actually just kind of slide my finger through here and take you through the build a little bit, and that just kind of shows you what we just went through, and it just kind of does this little animation kind of thing and shows you the finished build, and I really like that. Now, back to the little plane itself, this thing looks really cool, and I'll show you all of its little quirks and features right now. Here is our second build, and this thing, again, is pretty cool. Now, it's kind of a delta wing pusher prop little airplane, and I suppose it could also be a race plane, and it's pretty cool. You have the little nose that you can kind of lift up to kind of change the shape of the plane, and you can also change the shape by moving those out a little bit, and I think that it's kind of fun that you can move it around a little bit. And our main feature of this build is that you can push it and forward and backward and spin the propeller just like the other build, and this one has all of the same stickers and everything. And the bottom, I think, is really one of the more interesting parts with the landing gear. These are what turn to make the propeller move. You can see a little bit of that mechanism there. And the front landing gear, you can actually turn around a little bit, but it looks a lot like a fighter jet front landing gear, and that does not have any suspension, or, well, it kind of can move up and down, but that's just bending pieces, and you probably don't want to do that. But you can actually push that forward, or side to side rather, and you can move the plane forward and backward, and that would cause it to turn depending on what direction you move that. Now, I think that that's a pretty fun little feature and might teach kids a little bit about how an airplane actually turns, and I just think that this build is really cool. It's a pretty nice second build, and you can definitely tell that it's a second build because it is definitely rough around the edges, especially on the top. But other than that, I think that this is a very nice inclusion to the kit. So with that said, let's go on to the overview. Overall, this is a really cool kit, and you can see the secondary version of the build in front of me, and you can see the primary version of the build behind me. Now, my personal favorite is the primary version, and I think that is the case for a lot of people, and probably the reason why you get this kit. Now, let me know what your favorite one is in the comments below, and also let me know if you guys like these Lego Technic videos. Now, this is my first one, but I definitely plan to do more in the future, so let me know if you want to see more in the future, and maybe recommend some kits to me, and I am definitely open to suggestions. Now, with that said, you can get yourself one of these in the description below. I'll also have some links to some other cool Lego kits, and I will also have the link to our Lego Airplanes playlist. And be sure to like, subscribe, click that bell so you never miss a video, and I'll see you next time on Luclear Fusion.